Hello and welcome back to the Cozy Club, my friends. My name is Cozy Gamer and it is a beautiful day for some DSA. Today we're going to go over the complete in-depth guide for the new Toy Story villains. Now let me tell you, Lotso and friends are looking a lot more impressive than when we once thought, okay? It took me a little bit of time to get this guide out to you guys because I wanted to make sure that I had enough playtesting with them, and boy, am I glad that I did. Because on Thursday when they released, I was ready to call them a so-so team, and now I'm not so sure because after enough playtesting, I'm doing some good stuff with them. So we know that they thrive in Club Conquest, right? This is what they were built around. However, I wanted to test and see how well they did in live PvP. And let me tell you, they're taking out Kingdom teams and I'm taking out some Frozen and Dash teams. And today we're gonna go ahead and go through all of their abilities, their stats, some strategies, and the best characters to use with the new Toy Story villains. Toy Story villains is quite a mouthful, so let's go ahead and refer to them as TSV. If y'all want to go ahead and see some more TSV content and some more DSA content, hit that subscribe button to join the Cozy Club today for weekly videos. We get about 2 to 4 videos out a week, and I'm also always on Twitch if you want to find me there. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this in-depth guide. So this entire team strategy is mainly based on placing debuffs and fear on the enemy, and they really are able to sustain themselves throughout the battle, overwhelming the opponent with so much healing and debuffs on the field that over time, you should win the battle. Now with this team, I'm going to tell you now, you're not going to win the battle in the first 30 seconds or a minute. It's a bit of a grind, but it's well worth it and very fun. One of my favorite things about this team is that every single battle is different depending on who the enemy attacks on your team. Let's go ahead and start with the leader of the bunch, and that is the pink fuzzy bear himself, Lotso. Let's start out by looking at Lotso's stats. He has 960 offense, which is the lowest in the game. Okay, he's not meant to be an offensive powerhouse. He's meant to be the shot caller. Moving on to defense, he has 433 defense. That's going to be 5th in the game, so pretty respectable defense. 16,616 health. That's about middle of the pack. 1,187 recovery, which is on the high end of recovery, able to get those heals out to your Toy Story villain teammates and other teammates that are going to be the lowest healed on your team. We'll look at that in just a second. And 105 speed, which places him around the 15th mark of the characters. Of course, there's some tied character stats in there, but around the 15th highest speed character in the game. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at his abilities, starting with his basic cane slam. And you know, it's a little odd that he had a cane in the first place. Towards the end of the movie, he ditched his cane and he was running just fine. It was all a ploy. His cane slam is going to go ahead and have a 50% chance to put fear on the enemy. Again, the whole team's based on fear, so this is a great basic. Moving on to his first ability, that's going to be Lock 'em Up. And guys, currently Lock 'em Up is bugged, and that's a little bit of a bummer because this is going to be a great mass assist, and once they fix it, it's going to be better than ever. He's going to be able to call Big Baby along with what it says 1 to 3 additional allies to attack a picked character. This isn't working right now because he's only calling up to 1 ally. If he has Big Baby, he does call 2, but I have never seen him call more than 1 thus far, so I'm assuming this is a glitch. This team is going to need this ability to be the best because right now they do lack offense. We'll get to that in just a bit, but again, hopefully they fix this bug quite quickly. Now we're going to move on to something that makes Lotso stand out above the rest, and that's going to be his playdate with Destiny. Now this is the first of its kind that we've seen in DSA, and what it's going to do is that he's going to first heal the 2 lowest health allies on his team. If they already have max health, he's going to put continuous healing on them. But the main big kicker of this is he's going to do a forced taunt on the enemy team. And what this means is he's going to put a forced taunt on the 2 lowest health characters on the enemy team. And he's also going to have a 30% chance to increase any taunt that's already out on the field. So let's go ahead and take, for example, that Kristoff is taunting for the Frozen team. You're stuck behind that Kristoff wall that we all hate being stuck behind. And then what Lotso is going to do is he's going to do the playmate with Destiny. It's going to put taunt on 2 other characters with the lowest health, and then it's going to also extend the taunt on Kristoff. Why this is good, and we'll get to in a bit, is that Chunk has a very nice synergy with this. And guys, this is a way to work around those beefy tanks that seem like they can never die. And it's a great way to kind of not really get rid of taunts, but add so many taunts that it makes taunt, we've said taunt a lot, ineffective. This move is just solid all around. He's going to be healing your teammates, and then again, being able to kind of go after the attackers on the team because generally when you pop this at the beginning of battle, it is going to go on the offensive units that you're facing, as they typically have lower health. So then you can focus fire those hard-hitting units right away. So like those BBWs and Zergs on the other team, you can focus them and get around the taunts. And moving on to his passive, I'm a Hugger. This might be the best passive in DSA. So when Lotso is dealt damage, he's going to increase the speed meter of each allied Toy Story villain by 10%. And in addition, 5% per opponent that's inflicted with fear. So we're talking a mass amount of speed turn meter going to your team if the enemy does go after Lotso first. And because Lotso does take buffs from other characters, he can get taunt on himself, and something like Dash or Zerg hitting his rapid iron blaster is going to do many hits on Lotso, and you're going to see Zerg and your other Toy Story villains fill up their speed bar immediately and jump ahead of the enemy. This is so important on the team as they don't have the speed to keep up with the Kingdom and the Frozen team. So this is the way that you're going to compensate and be able to keep up with these fast teams. So if that wasn't enough, Lotso is also going to gain a copy of one random helpful effect from each adjacent Toy Story villain teammates. So Cozy Club, I'm going to let you in on a secret. We're going to talk about it more in the strategy section. But essentially, if you can get undefeatable on one of the two adjacent Toy Story villains, you're going to be able to keep stacking undefeatable on Lotso. Guys, I've had up to 5 to 7 stacks on Lotso of undefeatable. And when you pair this with the Doctor, it's just a crazy combo, and I can't wait to get to it in the strategy section. So we're still not done with his passive. He's going to go ahead and have a healing mechanism in here as well. He's going to restore 1,424 health to the 2 lowest health teammates, including himself. If your teammates do have full health, again, instead of healing them, he's going to be putting continuous healing on them. So Lotso's also a great healer. Now, 2 more things. If your allies are Toy Story villains, they're going to heal an additional 15% per helpful effect on Lotso. Also, if you're in Club Conquest, your teammates are going to gain defense up that are affected with this healing. It's an absolute ridiculous passive, and it's what makes me love Lotso's kit so much. Now, rounding out with his leadership, it's only going to be able to be used in Club's Conquest, kind of like Simba, but what it's going to do is add 22% maximum health to your characters. And in addition, when you start the battle, they're going to start with offense up and life drain for 1 turn going into a Club Conquest battle. So it just makes the cherry on top. In Club Conquest, this team is going to perform very beautifully. Because we're all crunched for those lovely ruins, we're going to go ahead and look at the ability priority on Lotso. You want to make sure if you do have Lotso that you go ahead and upgrade these abilities first, getting the best bang for your buck. So you're first going to want to upgrade Cane Slam. Then you're going to want to go ahead and upgrade Lock 'em Up, Playdate with Destiny, finish Lock 'em Up, go ahead and get his passive I'm a Hugger upgraded, and then lastly go on and do Playdate, I'm a Hugger, and finish off with his basic. You don't really need to upgrade his basic, same with Chunk, as they're not going to be doing a lot of damage, and go ahead and save those precious beta runes. All right, now looking at Chunk, I love Chunk. Chunk is an amazing tank regardless if you have the Toy Story villains or not. The reason he's so good and I love him so much is that he is so simplistic. Guys, people with simplistic kits do a lot better in this game, mainly because the AI knows how to handle their kit a lot better on defense or in Club Conquest. Now let's go ahead and look at his stats. He's got 991 offense, which is very low, but his job on the Toy Story villains team is not to be putting out damage, but more to be extending the crowd control and being a nuisance tank on your team. Now his defense is 503, which is the 4th highest in the game. Very respectable defense there. And his health, guys, 23,472. Wowzers, the most health in the game. You're going to definitely want to slap a health stone or defense stone on Chunk. He doesn't need a speed stone, as he's going to go ahead and get that from Lotso's passive. His speed is 105, which again doesn't matter because he's getting his speed elsewhere. And he's got some high tenacity at 23%. I thought that was worth highlighting, as that is a nice bit of tenacity. And you're going to see here in his passive, he can get rid of harmful effects anyway. So you're not going to see Chunk have harmful effects too much. Now let's go ahead and look at his basic. Not only just dealing damage, if he has haste, he's going to have a chance to inflict offense down. If he has defense up, he's going to convert the helpful effects on the enemy team to harmful effects. It's always always great seeing a basic do more than just damage, and in this case, Chunk is going to be turning those helpful effects to harmful effects, which is great for things like Frozen because they're going to be hiding with harmful immunity, taunts, and all kinds of buffs. So to be able to flip those on a basic attack is not to be undervalued. For his second special, guys, it makes Splash Mountain almost look like a spell you shouldn't use anymore. Chunk can do what Splash Mountain does, or at least the main reason you want Splash Mountain, in one ability. On top of all this, it's a very low cooldown. You can use it every other turn, so he can deal up to 3,000 damage to the target enemy and adjacent teammates. He can then extend 2 harmful effects by 1 turn like Splash Mountain on each enemy that he hits. So let's say that you have Jack Sparrow or Jafar in your team, and Jafar does a 2-turn charm on the enemy. Well, Chunk's gonna come in and make that a 3-turn charm, and on top of that, if they have silence or something else, it's going to extend that also another turn. So what I noticed in DSA is that it classifies anything that your characters put on the enemy team as a debuff. And this is interesting because Lotso's taunts are going to count as debuffs. So what's going to be great synergy here is that you put those taunts out by Lotso and then Chunk goes after him. You can extend those taunts on the weaker characters to make sure you can get them down before they hide behind someone like Kristoff or Mr. Incredible. So yes, any debuff can have the amount of time on the enemy extended, and that's just crazy when you look at things like stun and some of the other stronger debuffs in DSA. So let's go ahead and look at his passive, and it's very true to the movies, right? He has the happy face, then he hits the top of it and it goes to the angry face, right? And this is great. When he starts the battle, he's going to go ahead and give himself taunt for his very first turn, and he's also going to put fear on the enemy. This is great because you're going to start building up that fear train that you want to start stacking on the enemy so that you can start giving yourselves more and more benefits, which we'll get to on the strategy section. So then on his second turn, he's going to lose that taunt. He's going to gain haste from losing that taunt, which is going to make him go for the third turn even faster, right? Haste grants speed up. And then in his third turn, keep up with me now, his third turn, he's going to lose haste and gain defense up and taunt. Okay, so he's going to start with taunt. He's going to lose that taunt and get haste. Then he's going to lose that haste and get taunt and defense up. It's great. It works with his passive well. And overall, he's going to be doing a lot of different buffs and debuffs, giving them to Lotso. Chunk is a great character. And again, whether you have these characters or not, go ahead and get him towards going for Zerk, or just get him as a downtown villain teammate. His second passive works a lot like Sully's. When fear is given out to the enemies, he's going to gain 2% shield, and he gains 2% shield more per Toy Story villain that you have on your team. So it sounds simple enough, but just like Sully, this really starts to stack up, and you're going to be able to take some big damage delivered by people like Kingdom, Shan Yu, Frozen teams. He can take the punches, and that's why Chunk is simplistically amazing. So looking at his ability priority, you want to start and upgrade Ground Pound to start. Then upgrade all of his other abilities besides his second passive up to level 2. Then finish up Ground Pound fully, then the first passive, then the basic, and then finally you can wrap everything else up. This is a great way to get the most out of Chunk, and this is what I recommend. All right, Cozy Club, we're going to go ahead and move on to the last member of the Toy Story villains group, and that's going to be Big Baby. Holy Big Baby. And that is one scary character. If you are already struggling with a full night's sleep, don't look directly into his eyes as it looks into your soul. He is a creepy character, and my favorite part about him is how massive he is on the battlefield. Go ahead and look at Dash here. He looks like the size of one of Big Baby's hands. It's ridiculous, and I love it. So in my opinion, I'm going to go ahead and say Big Baby is the least impressive out of the bunch, and I'm going to give him a fair chance. I don't have him maxed out, and he's only T6, and he only has 6 stars to him. So he might be one of those characters that get a significant amount of boost once you have him maxed out. But right now, I just find myself finding better characters to fit this squad. Nonetheless, Big Baby does do some decent damage, and let's look at his kid because he might be useful once fully maxed out. So looking at Big Baby's stats, his offense is going to be the 4th highest in the game at 1,597. So this is very high offense, guys. His abilities don't put out too much unless there's fear all over the field. So Big Baby does grow stronger as the battle goes on, but it is a little underwhelming for how much offense he has. His abilities don't quite do as much. His defense is 299, and that is dead last within this game. His health is 14,521, and he does have recovery because he can heal a little bit. His speed is fast, being 115. That's the 6th fastest character in the game, and Lotso is going to give him speed turn meter. So Big Baby should go a lot, and I think that's why I'm not seeing crazy offense numbers, because he's going to be going pretty consistently. So I just found out that Big Baby is a he. I was trying to figure out its gender for a little bit, but it is a he. All right, so let's look at his basic ability. He's going to deal 2,096 damage, and his damage is going to increase by 10% per opponent affected by fear. So you're going to get 50% more damage if everyone on the enemy team has fear. With your allies putting out fear on the enemy team somewhat consistently, you will see this yellow shovel hit a bit harder somewhat frequently. Now his first ability, Time Out, he's going to throw the classic Toy Story Beach Ball at the enemy, dealing massive damage, and he's going to decrease speed turn meter of the target by 30%, like putting them in a timeout. He is also going to inflict stun, which is great because, again, put this with Chunk and you can have that stun extended. His second ability is going to be Tantrum, and the baby deals 3,293 damage to the target enemy and adjacent opponents. The damage can also be increased up to 50%, with the fear being on the enemy team, just like his basic, and it ignores 20% defense if the enemy has taunt. So ideally, to make this work best, you have forced taunts by Lotso, fear on the field, and Big Baby dropping the tantrum. Moving on to his passive, Mama. He's going to have a 30% chance to gain offense up and give Lotso 30% more speed turn meter. The chance to have this activated increases by 5% per Toy Story villain that you have on your team. So effectively, this is going to climb a bit more and you're going to see Mama happen a bit more often. And in addition, in Club Conquest, all the effects that he gives out is going to have an increased duration when in Club Conquest. So it's a little bit niche. I would focus that last on the ability priority. Looking at ability priority, let's go ahead and look at which upgrades you're going to want to do first. Timeout is going to be the first thing you want to upgrade. Then I would move to his basic, finish Timeout, finish the basic, and then finish out Tantrum and his passive. His passive I would wait on. It's not super important because it's not going to continually help you as it's only in Club Conquest. But if that is the game mode you want to focus on, you can go ahead and upgrade that next. All right, Cozy Club, let's go ahead and move on to what we've all been waiting for. And that is going to be the team synergy and the best characters to use with your Toy Story villains. Now, looking at this graphic here, you've got the main 3 Toy Story villains. I recommend always putting Zurg in that 4th spot as he synergizes very nicely with him. And as for that 5th spot, I prefer Sully because I love the shield game that Sully has. I'm actually currently leaving Big Baby out. I'm using Lotso, Sully, Chunk, Dr. Facilier, and Zurg. Now, looking at this graphic, you can see there's a lot of characters that work well with this team, and that's why I love them. There's so many different characters and strategies that you can use. Yes, you can throw in Dash or any of the other S+ characters, but my goal is to make teams count with the synergies that they rely on. Looking at other characters, you can add in Jafar. He's got the 2-turn charm. He also can do the big bomb. And with all the fear going out, that big bomb ability, the time's running out, is going to go ahead and decrease very fast. So Jafar is a great 5th spot in this team, and I think you'll love his involvement with the rest of the Toy Story villains. Looking at Peep, she's great for her leadership ability. She's going to give Toy Story characters 20% more offense, which this team is desperately needing. Peep's a great addition, and the Doctor is what I'm currently using. The reason I like the Doctor in this place is he's going to give potency upgrade to all of your teammates, but you want that fear going out there, so there's nothing wrong with having a little extra potency. On top of that, I love Sully on my team, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Sully's not fast enough to get that taunt going all the time, so having the Doctor be able to put a force taunt on Sully or a force taunt on Chunk, and then Lotso can take the life drain from Chunk, you really start adding up buffs with Dr. Facilier. Not only buffs, but you're going to be adding in debuffs because Dr. Facilier can shut down Elsa with a polymorph or Kristoff, and then you can extend polymorphs with Chunk. It's incredible the combinations that all these guys do. And then on top of that, we talked about it earlier, but the undefeatable that Lotso can keep giving himself, eventually, once Lotso keeps dying, Dr. Facilier is going to heal up the team very fast because every time someone dies, the Doctor heals up. Love the synergy the Doctor has. Lastly, Randall, Oogie-Boogie, they're great. They have fear that interacts with their kits. I like Sully better, but Randall and Oogie-Boogie can do some great things. Woody is proving to be a great ally as well. He's going to help them heal up and not get completely destroyed, which, guys, you'll notice that your team is slow. They're not going to get the first move out there in battle, so you're going to have to absorb those hits and hope for the best, and Woody helps rely that RNG a little bit more, as he's going to be putting some massive healing on the Toy Story characters. Madam Mim is also a great choice. She can extend the fear that's already out in the field, so never a bad choice to go with the Mim. There's so many different leaders, there's so many different characters, and this is why I love these new tunes, because there's so much theory crafting to do with them. There's so many different options and different outcomes of battle depending on which characters you decide to put in. And this is what I want to see more in DSA, right? We want to see more plug and play characters with the main squad and see a lot of variety in the teams that you're using. All right, Cozy Club, let's go ahead and look at some strategies to end the video here. And so some great strategies placement wise, I like Lotso in the middle, Chunk and Zerg behind Lotso. If not Zerg, you have Big Baby there, and then solely on the left side, or whoever you want on the left and the right. You'll want to put all buffs on the characters in the back, the other Toy Story villain characters, as Lotso is going to be getting that from his adjacent Toy Story villains, right? So you want to grab those from Chunk. I put everything on Chunk, right? Because Chunk has a lot of health. He's going to keep the buffs, and then Lotso takes directly from Chunk. Or if Big Baby's right behind you, you can also grab it from Big Baby. I also like to have placement-wise Lotso in the middle, Big Baby right behind him, and Chunk behind him, Zerg to the right, and Soli or your +1 to the left. The reason that Soli is my MVP with this team is that in his kit, he can gain more and more shields based on the fear that is put on the enemy team. So I like to bounce between the taunts of Soli and Chunk. And the great part about this is that Chunk loses and gains taunts so frequently that he's not always taking the beating from the enemy. And then Soli, with all of his bonus shields, he's the one that you want to take the massive big hits. Your goal with this team is to fear stack as much as possible. So I actually love the rebirth, the resurrection of the Headless Horseman. Guys, the Headless Horseman has a 50% chance to put Silence, which is such a strong debuff, on a flanking row. And also, it's going to put Fear on the enemy team, which is going to help Soli. It's going to help everyone on the team hit harder and do their job better. I also love having Golden Hammer. As I was speaking about previously, I love Undefeatable stacking on Chunk and then Lotso taking that Undefeatable. You're going to need that little bit more fortified to your team, so it's not a bad decision to go with Undefeatable. So Cozy Club, the reason I love this team is that each and every battle is going to be something different. Because of Lotso's passive, it's going to depend on what the enemy does. If they're smart, they'll probably take out Zerg first. That's the best way to counter this team. Go for Zerg, the heavy hitter, first, and you're going to put them at a significant disadvantage. But I love having the option and the strategy to always do something different. No arena battle is exactly the same, and this is what I like to see within DSA. I generally like to get Lotso's forced taunts out there. However, if the enemy is just about to go, and let's say Elsa's there, I don't want to give Elsa a forced taunt, and then her turn comes up, and the taunt's gone. Ideally, you want to put the forced taunt out there, have Chunk go right after Lotso. He's going to extend that taunt, and then you have 2 turns to kind of deal with these attackers as you please. Again, you're not going to win these battles quickly by no means. This is a sustain, outweigh the enemy, because you're going to have so much amounts of healing and fear and debuffs put onto them. So I'm going to say that Lotso is going to get an A+ ranking. These are still very early rankings of the characters, and I still want to try a lot of new things out. For right now, I think Chunk also belongs somewhere in the A tier. He's going to be a great tank whether he's with them or not. And Big Baby, he's going to be somewhere in the B tier. So I'm going to continue to test with these people. I'm sure that's going to change. I know you guys have requested to have a tier list update, so I just wanted to go ahead and bring this to you guys. So my recommendation is, if you have a Downtown Villains team already, go ahead and keep farming Chunk and get him going. He's going to be a great plug-in character with them and with other teams. For Lotso, he's going to be tough to get. You know, he's kind of locked behind a payment wall, but I think Lotso is worth getting absolutely if you can. It's going to take some time to unlock him, but trust me, he's such a great tool to use within different teams, and his own team is so unique and very fun. So that's it for the basic strategy of this team. There's so many different strategy and theory crafting left to do, and I'm excited to keep playtesting with them. You can catch me on Twitch if you want to see me use them more and more. I stream Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays, and Sundays. And if you want to go ahead and catch more of the Cozy Club action, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. I hope you learned a thing or two from this video. Hopefully you didn't get too scared by Big Baby. And I will see you guys later this week right here at the Cozy Club. Now go ahead and enjoy some other videos coming up next.